And now for the penultimate session, we have Mr. Manoj Kulkarni from the Nielsen company, who's the Manoj Kulkarni, who's the executive director at the Nielsen company, going to speak on the secret to successful new product launches. Manoj has over 20 years of market research experience covering both FMCG and non-FMCG. He's the executive director at Nielsen, and at Nielsen he has played many roles ranging from generalist to specialist and now helping large clients to spot profitable growth opportunities. He has led the innovation practice. His paper on the usage of artificial intelligence to mine social media data has won an award at the recently held MRSI conference. Manoj has won several internal and external awards for his work. He regularly exchanges consumer and shopper understanding at various industry and client forums. Let's put our hands together for Manoj.
Last session is always difficult, so thank you for staying, first of all. Creating a future that does not exist in the present, or taking something which is now intangible and rendering it tangible is always fascinating. All speakers across all conferences that I have attended in the last 5 years called out innovation as the growth opportunity. At the same time, they also confessed that a lot can be done to drive innovation agenda. And this session is intended to provide you factful stories so you can evangelize innovation in your company. So let me start with an interesting analysis from a US-based firm called HS Dent that specializes in analyzing macroeconomic trend. According to them, economic growth is nothing but a spending wave. And what they found is every spending wave is associated with an innovation wave. So it's almost like you cannot grow unless you innovate. And no wonder you would have seen a lot of innovations in the last 5 years. And according to them, our economic development or economic journey has started very recently. Our economy is likely to peak by 2060, which means we have got 40 years of economic growth and innovation as well. So not just your, but your kids' jobs are also secured. And if at all you are worried about your grandchildren, Pakistan is going to peak around 2070. So let's look at some of the reflection of this. I was at IIT Roorkee last year, and a student over there has invented a tri-wizard chess. Chess that 3 players can play, and you can checkmate 2 people at the same time. And we all know it's not just the product. Chess is also about strategy. So you will see innovation in strategy as well. The second example is slightly dated. Almost 10 years back, IIT developed an ATM machine for rural areas. It had biometric, voice control, energy efficient. And what they found is that the usage was very good in the first 2 months, and then it started declining. So they went to those areas and they thought that there will be some issue with the ATM machine. There was no issue with the ATM machine. So then they started checking with villager, why you're not using ATM machine? So what they said is this ATM machine is dispensing crisp new note. And in rural areas, there is always concern whether this is a real note or a fake note. But if it's a toy note, I know it has changed hands and it has stamp of approval of everyone. So IIT people went back to the drawing board and came out with the ATM machine that actually dispensed toy notes. And today, if you get toy notes, you can thank those villagers as well. The third one is my favorite. Bharat Dabholkar, we all know he's an Adaman, actor, director. So he found a unique solution to Mumbai traffic woes, auto rickshaw. Because he realized that on bike you cannot carry laptop, files and everything, car gets stuck in the traffic. So he spent 15,000 rupees to buy a second-hand auto rickshaw. He spent another 15,000 rupees to refurbish that auto rickshaw. And he was from Worli, so he called it Worli Davidson. And even today, when he takes his Worli Davidson on the road, and there are BMWs and Rolls Royce, but people will be still clicking pictures of his Worli Davidson. The only point that I'm trying to make here is that you can have innovation from anywhere, and that innovation can be in any space. And three things which are driving innovation agenda is the thinking that government is having today. India is no more about 1.3 billion mouth, but India is about 1.3 billion minds. The model that they are following is MLM, more value for less cost for more people. And yes, earlier regulations has impacted time, but that issue has been addressed to a greater extent. When we conducted a survey, what we found is India ranked second in terms of consumers actively looking for new products. And what is causing this positive disposition towards new product? Because we resist change, correct? There is always inertia about it. So why people are trying new products today? So we found there are several reasons. So the first one is nuclearization. A country which was known for joint family system, 2 in 3 families today are nuclear, which means I don't have to follow choices that my parents or my in-laws would have made. The second one is migration. Migration is actually forcing me to try out new product because the product that I was used to in my place are no more available. The third one is that when trying out new product, there is always risk. But thanks to information tsunami on digital media, you can actually take a calculated risk because before buying the product, you can look at the reviews, product reviews, you can get familiarized with it. That was not available earlier. So only earlier adopters could take the risk, but now more and more people are taking the risk, informed, calculated risk, I would say. The next one is actually halo impact of technology. If you look at every new technology product that is coming in the market, it's called an upgrade. And the very word upgrade means it is better than the existing one. So whenever a new product is launched today, people think that it is definitely better than the existing one, and at least I should give it a chance. And obviously there are reasons why people want to try out new product because they also want to be in sync with what's happening around, and hence there are other factors as well. So this is the best time to innovate in India. So what's differentiating this 21st century innovation from the 20th century innovation is our ability to collect and mine huge amount of data in a relatively short period. And that mining exercise can give you disruptive ideas, it can reduce your cycle time, and it can actually improve your success rate. So data is going to be the differentiator going forward. But if that's the case, why not many companies are going for innovation? And there are myths around it. People think as long as I have a great idea, that's good enough. But what we realize is that having a good idea is just the beginning. At Nielsen, we realize that innovation success is not a unidimensional framework. In fact, it's a multidimensional framework, and you have to work on all the parameters. So if you set the expectation in advertisement, and if your product is not meeting those expectations, obviously your innovation is going to fail. If you're not going to support that innovation, then obviously that innovation is going to fail. So it's like the weakest link theory, that you default on one parameter and you could put your innovation at a greater risk. The second one is you don't have to come out every time with earth-shattering innovations. We have to learn sometimes from technology companies. They are very good at renovations. In fact, when we looked at all the data that we had, what we found is that the companies which are good at both renovation and innovation are doing a great job in terms of delivering a shareholder value. So when we looked at our data on what is leading to innovation, uniqueness had the lowest threshold level. So not every time consumers are looking for a unique product. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that you should come out with the Me Too product. All I'm saying is give equal importance to both renovation as well as innovation. And the third one is actually involving consumer at an early stage. So trendwatching.com is a trend spotting company, and they coined a very interesting term, the expectation economy. What they said is that today the expectations are not set by your competitors, but actually players outside your category. So Starbucks could define what is a servicing standard and banks and telecom companies will have to adhere to those standards. So we conducted an interesting exercise at our end, and we tried to check whether consumers are also following this. Can consumer actually articulate your next innovation? And what we realized in that exercise is that yes, they are actually looking at other categories for inspiration to address the challenge in their category. And I'll give you a simple example. So consumers said if there can be a detergent powder for hard water and soft water, why there cannot be a shampoo for hard water and soft water? And even today there is no shampoo for hard water and soft water. Every shampoo is talking about 7 benefits, 10 benefits, but the woman will say, I will be able to realize that benefit only if water allows it. Yeah? So the point that we are making here is that it is very critical to involve consumers in your innovation journey. So if the product that you are coming out are relevant for them. So if that is the case, then we focus on packaging, and what we felt is, although FMCG is also called as CPG, consumer packaged good, that P in that consumer packaged good is highly underleveraged. That opportunity is really huge. And there are challenges why packaging is not leveraged to its fullest. Designers feel that brand managers, they don't have the necessary creative freedom because brand managers are not willing to take the risk. Brand managers are complaining that I don't know whether consumer is allowing me to go for this dramatic design change. Market research people know that packaging is a time-consuming process, and obviously they don't want to be messenger of bad news. And as a result, the senior management in the organization feels that there is no structured way of going for an optimal new design. So when we spoke to leaders, what they felt is that there are two concerns. One, this entire process is very subjective and it is time consuming. So there are pain points across packaging development, and there are other challenges as well. So every second manufacturer felt that the final product that they have, final packaging that they have, is not the strongest one. And 2 in 3 design companies felt that the one that company has selected is not what we had recommended. In fact, what we had recommended was far better than that. So there is that disconnect in that. Yeah. And as a result, what is happening is that the creative agencies are now not coming out with too many options. So half of the companies give at max 3 different packaging options. And what we realize is that that is also impacting the failure rate of innovation, especially when it comes to packaging. So if these are the challenges, what is it that we need to do? So I'll probably illustrate through a case study. So this was a B brand, slightly dated, and they wanted to renovate. What they realized is that shopportunity is the biggest growth opportunity. And the simplest thing that they can do is to change the packaging. So what they did is that instead of going through a conventional way of just connecting with the agency and asking for design, they told them that you give us all the building blocks of that packaging. Those building blocks were exposed to the consumers, and then consumers selected which option was looking better. So all the permutations and combinations were tried out. This logo, that color, this kind of visual, and all these combinations were created in a real-time mode. So they resulted into thousands of combinations. So not all combinations were exposed to the same respondent. So a respondent will see only max 10 to 12 options dynamically generated. And then they will rate those packaging options. And obviously those packaging options were, again, all this exploration was done on a multi-dimensional framework. We also had eye tracking glasses, which actually tells you where they are looking at it. So if you have a water bottle and if you are wearing that box, it can actually tell you whether you are looking at brand, whether you are looking at expiry date, whether you are looking at ingredient. And that data was combined with their responses also. In fact, what we felt is packaging is so difficult sometimes for people to articulate. We also have a neuroscience lab where it's like you are wearing a cap and we try to understand, where your brain activity peaks. So for example, you could be focusing on brand, but that does not mean that brand is the most important one. Because what it is telling you that yes, people are looking at the brand, but whether that brand is creating a positive emotion in the brain or not, that we don't know. So neuroscience actually helps you to do that. So we combined all that data and then we came out, which packaging could be better for them. But you don't have to every time go through so many options. Sometimes you can just leverage a consumer insight. And here is a classic example, M&M. We all know that chocolate as a category is impulse category. It requires that trigger. And when people go for shopping, if they are able to see something related to it, they will buy it. Now the current packaging is that all the packs were lying down. The simple innovation was that they made the pack standing. And as a result, people started noticing those packs that triggered the interest and they started consuming it. The net result is that you had a 7% growth in the sales. And these simple things can give you a good growth. If you are looking for double-digit growth, all the packaging that we have tasted, we found that a good packaging or a consumer-centric packaging can give you 5.5% growth on an average. And that's great because then you have other levers to pull also. But this packaging itself, so if anyone asks you the question that what is the size of price when you go for packaging innovation, you can safely say that if it's a successful packaging, it can give you 5 to 6% growth, just the packaging innovation. Or the other way of looking at it is that when you start tapping the consumer trend, one of the trend that we discussed today was big day. Panelists were saying that big days are becoming more important. Just to give you a stats around it, 2014 was the tipping point when the created consumption opportunities like 26th January and 15th August per day sales were actually bigger than your conventional consumption opportunities, which is Diwali and the Dasara Diwali. Yeah? So that's the importance of these big, that's how bigger they are, that they have overtaken your conventional consumption opportunities. Or the other trend that you can look at it is very salient in India, which is premium product. 1 in 3 rupees today are spent on buying premium product. And if it's a premium product, you need a premium packaging as well. So there are various factors that are driving these things. And if you start noticing these trends, you can start understanding what is going to be the impact on packaging. So I'll talk about 2 factors which are driving this premiumization trend, macroeconomic factor. One is the rising women workforce. Every second new job today is grabbed by a woman. Globally, this percentage is higher. 2 in 3 jobs are grabbed by a woman. In fact, economists in 2009 came out with an article that this recession can be called as a mansation because it lost more jobs than women. And we thought probably that's a developed world phenomena. So we looked at India data. We analyzed last 5 years employment trend by male, female. In the last 6-7 years, 1 million jobs were wiped out from public sector. We restricted ourselves only to public sector, assuming that private sector is more gender neutral. So 1 million jobs were wiped out from public sector. We analyzed that data by male, female. 1 million men lost job, women workforce increased by 50,000. And then we looked at this trend and we said, okay, what implication it has for premiumization? So we looked at all the data that we had and split it by working women and non-working women. And what we found is that working women are twice positively disposed over premium product compared to non-working women. And that is a measurable trend. That's a discriminatory variable that marketeers can look at. The other trend that was impacting premiumization, and which is not surprising, but there is a twist there, is our Hindi serial. We all know our Hindi serials are flashy. And 100 crore rupees, which was a budget for a Hindi movie, is now becoming a budget for a mega serial. But regional serials are relatively cheaper. So you can complete 52 episodes of Marathi serial in around 60 lakh rupees. But there was this one particular Marathi serial, Jai Mallar, and there was one particular episode where Lord Shankar gets married. On that one episode, they spent 25 lakhs rupees. And all the jewelry had come from the local jewelers who had designed it and they branded it, and that's how they started capitalizing on it. But our moment of truth came when we started looking at the reality shows data. If you look at reality shows, how it started in a typical Brahminical way, which is Kaun Banega Karodpati. If you are intelligent, you will earn money. Later, people learned that if you can sing, you can earn money. If you can dance, you can earn money. If you can cook, you can earn money. Big Boss told us if you can bitch, you can earn more money. And if at all you are thinking that, how big this impact will be. So in 2010, not in 2019, not in 2018, in 2010, the number of people who voted for reality shows exceed number of people who voted for BJP in 2009 general election. So that's the subtle impact that's happening, and we don't realize that. So when we were talking to consumer, what they said is that because of these reality shows, earlier there was a fixation that if you are of a certain caliber, and that caliber also defined in a particular way, you can earn money. But now anyone can earn any amount of money, and the reality shows, just the price exposure is 5 crore rupees per week. We are exposed to 5 crore prices every week. And no wonder reality shows has actually overtaken news as per the latest data. So you can look at some of these interesting trends and you can innovate around that as well. Because today we were trying to understand that, to make us foolproof, what is it that we can do? So one thing is that, obviously leverage technology, but also start spotting this trend. Premiumization is such a big trend, it's going to be there for another 30 years. And premium packaging is one where clients actually don't compromise. So that could be an area, that could be a growth opportunity for you guys going forward. So just to summarize this, very rarely consumer buy a brand. They actually summon the brand to address the challenges that they are facing. So if you address that challenge, you can be an integral part of consumer life. For example, you want a coffee and you don't want the normal coffee, you want Starbucks kind of coffee. But obviously going there is a nightmare, it costs us a lot. And hence, my challenge is that yes, I want that experience, I want that taste, but I cannot go out every time. And hence the solution is actually ready to drink those kind of coffee solution, which you can prepare it at home. So you get the same taste, you don't have to go there, and at the same time it is far cheaper than you going there. But it meets your latent demand as well. So I think focus on understanding what is it that consumers are looking at, and then try to address that. The second thing is, leading companies nowadays are spending a lot of money on evolutionary algorithm, something like Google Analytics, to explore many more ideas, learn fast, and actually maximize the potential that an idea offers. At the same time, they are also investing on analytics to test out creative assets like packaging and come out with assets which makes important impact or significant impact on your sales. And one number that I had given you was around 6% impact on the sales. We had interesting sessions. I know you're dying to go home. So we will leverage all the things that we have learned so far. And the last one is summary of all that we learned today. That you would have heard this phrase, data is oil. We feel data is not the oil, data is the new soil. It's a creative, fertile medium which can give you innovation opportunities across spectrum. Yeah. Thank you, Vinod, for organizing a fantastic event, and I really feel that all the information that you got today will hopefully make your approach to any growth opportunities from reactive, and here I play with words, so watch carefully. Thanks a lot. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Can I request Ms. Pooja Rajpal to felicitate Mr. Manoj? She's from Zonke, India, who's one of the supporters of this event. So that brings us to the